So is your state about to go into an economic death spiral? A study from the folks at Forbes warning it's because they have more takers living off government than makers making a living in the private sector. Bill, this is your baby. Which states are in real trouble, and explain why?
Well, California and New York might not surprise you, are near the top of the list. This is a ratio between the number of takers, that's people who either have government jobs or are collecting welfare, to makers, which are people in the private sector. And if that ratio is high, you can go into a downward spiral. That's exactly why Puerto Rico is in such terrible shape.
So, Bruce, you just can't do it. The numbers don't add up. If you have more people taking than putting in, you eventually go bankrupt.
Well, I think it depends on your definition of a taker or a maker. I mean, Bill did have it was a good piece, but in
well, once again, let me just specify, Bruce, just for the purpose of specifics here: welfare recipients, government employees, or government pensioners. Those are the three categories. Go ahead.
Okay, well then if you don't include farmers in the Midwest who are getting huge agriculture subsidies, I mean they're doing pretty well. We don't really count them, but so I'm just saying that it depends on your definition. I mean I think what it comes down to is whether your economy is diverse, but in some way or form.
I get your point, and I think it's a fair one, Mike. The fact is a lot of people are on the take somehow from the government, but these are people that 100% of their income is dependent on the government. And by the way, we've got a map of people moving out of these states. You know, when you have states that are in trouble like this, about to go into a death spiral, folks move out. They vote with their feet.
Oh, listen, David, you make a great point. I remember in the 80s they talked about the Massachusetts miracle, which was, you know, Michael Dukakis was governor, and they were having this great rebound thanks to technology. All the MIT graduates. Well, what happened was tax rates in the state went way up. People fled. A lot of them went to next to where Rich Colgard lives now.
Sabrina, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think this is a similar argument to Nick Eberstadt saying we're all a nation of takers. I think it is a bad math equation. It's a bad trajectory to be on, but I also think it can be overly pessimistic because I think sometimes we're lumping together people who are getting transfer payments through pension plans, which technically they've paid into, even if they're unsustainable, with welfare handouts that aren't even tied to work. So I think we have to be careful, and I also think that public opinion is on the side of reining in spending, reining in government. We just need good political leadership.
Well, let's hope that's what this side that the public is in, reining in government. But, Steve, we had Mitt Romney in the last elections trying to make the point of this makers and takers point. He got hammered in the election. I'm wondering if maybe the nation is full of more takers than makers.
No, thankfully, most Americans still want to work. Most Americans still want to get ahead. What we have is a lousy economic environment that makes that more and more difficult. You remove those obstacles, and you'll see this economy come roaring back. In states that still are laggard, can't get their act together, like Illinois, you'll find people moving out. That's the wonderful thing about America. We're mobile. If we don't find opportunities at home, we'll go somewhere else.
That's true. John Tamny, Rich is always making a point that we're like a big experimental ground where people can move to a state that suits their interests, and apparently they are moving out of these spiral death states.
Well, you know, as usual, Steve's right. Most Americans want to work and do something better.
You just assured yourself a job for life, but go ahead.
They want to do something better with their lives. Takers, as a rule, hold back economic growth, but I think we're overstating the case here. California and New York are homes of some of the most innovative, smart people on earth who create enormous amounts of wealth. I don't think we're about to see California fall to 50th place.
All right.
I think we overrate the negativity.
Bill, finally, from you, what is your feeling about how all this... I mean, you came up with this freedom ratio. Eventually, will things change? Will people wake up?
Well, California is a long way from Puerto Rico's fate, but I think there is a risk that Google's going to start saying, you know, we could put our employees in Salt Lake City or Austin instead of California.
Or places like Connecticut, by the way. A lot of people moving out of there. Coming up, nearly 2 out of 3 Americans say they don't have enough emergency savings to even pay for a $500 car repair. But our informers are about to change that.